Work with here at Fox, and they're the ones who help, make it all happen every day. And to the viewers at home, thank you for a great year here from us to you.
It's a good time. Good time had by all. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too, Mel. We'll be here Monday, by the way. All right, thank you for joining us today, everybody. Outnumbered starts right now.
We begin with a Fox News alert. President Trump's disgraced former attorney Michael Cohen has given his first interview today since being sentenced to 3 years in prison on charges including tax fraud and campaign finance violations. Now Michael Cohen is stepping up his accusations against the president amid a growing back and forth as the Mueller probe drags on. You're watching Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner. Here today, Melissa Francis, Fox News contributor Lisa Booth, Fox News contributor Jessica Tarlov, and in the center seat, political strategist and former pollster for the Ted Cruz 2016 campaign, not wearing a beard today. Chris Wilson is here, and he is outnumbered. Great to see you.
Good to see you too, Harris.
What did you say?
I said it would look really bad if I tried to grow. It'd be like a Robert Bork type of look.
For the record, Jessica and I endorsed Senator Ted Cruz's beard.
Very pro-beard.
Pro-beard and a bipartisan endorsement, no less.
Wow,
so.
Did you ever see that, Melissa?
No. But thank goodness they've come together.
Yes.
Perfect.
It'll be over in a second.
For the sake of the nation, we did. So yes.
And now we have a show. And if Senator Cruz is anywhere near TV, he's wondering what the heck.
Oh, I'm sure he's watching it. I'll hear about this later.
All right.
I had took the other attitude at his Christmas party the other night, and it didn't go well. So he has strong feelings right now.
There'll be interesting details during this hour. Keep watching. The president and Michael Cohen trading accusations over hush money payments made to two women during the campaign who alleged affairs with the president over a decade ago. This amid reports the president was the third person in the room in 2015 during talks between Cohen and National Enquirer publisher David Pecker about a plan to purchase negative stories and pursue payouts to avoid publication. The president denied any wrongdoing during my interview with him yesterday. But Cohen, during an interview with ABC's George Stephanopoulos, pointed the finger back at the president. Watch it.
I never directed him to do anything wrong. Whatever he did on his own.
He directed me to make the payments. He directed me to become involved in these matters, including the one with McDougal, which was really between him and David Pecker. I gave loyalty to someone who truthfully does not deserve loyalty.
President Trump yesterday also told me that he believes Cohen pleaded guilty to campaign finance violations in order to embarrass him. But today, Cohen disputes that. Watch.
I wasn't his only client. He had other clients. He did some bad things because what he did is he made a deal to embarrass me.
I did not do it to embarrass the president. He knows the truth. I know the truth. Many people know the truth. Under no circumstances do I want to embarrass the President of the United States of America.
Meanwhile, some lawmakers on Capitol Hill want to get Cohen back before their committees as he pleaded guilty to lying to Congress. And they'll have some time to do that because between now and the beginning of March 6th, he can sit out. I think he wears an ankle bracelet, but I'll have to fact check that. So Michael Cohen says he knows the truth. I don't think that's the question. I think the question is, does he tell the truth?
Well, it is, well, does he tell the truth? And it doesn't matter at this point because he has zero credibility. I mean, the fact is you cannot plead guilty to lying before Congress and all of a sudden expect the American public to believe you. And watching your excellent interview with the president yesterday, it certainly appears that the president is not concerned about this. And if he's not, he's the one person who does also know the truth. And if he's not concerned, then I think it's probably becomes a non-starter because Cohen can get out there and make all the charges he wants, but who's going to take him seriously now?
But the truth about what? I mean, he says that the president directed him to do it. If that's true, then that basically clears the president because he used his own money in order to do this, which you're allowed to spend as much money on your campaign as you want. I mean, a second point, I can't believe that George Stephanopoulos did not ask Cohen, has he done this before? Because I would bet the president has paid off other women, in which case it's not necessarily about the campaign. It's sort of a normal course of business. Yes, it's horrible and distasteful, but it's not illegal by any stretch.
So, Jessica, I just want to bring up one word, and it's receipts. And, you know, it's kind of a colloquial thing now when we talk about when somebody does something, if you want proof, get it on your phone, get a receipt. If the federal investigators are looking at this properly, they would also be cooperating. They wouldn't need much from Michael Cohen.
Right.
So we need to find out what else. And again, that goes back to Mueller. We don't know all that he has.
But the SDNY filings and the Mueller memo were quite clear about this. Judge Napolitano has been on our network talking about this extensively, that they wouldn't have moved forward with these charges if they didn't have corroborating evidence and didn't actually need Michael Cohen for this. We also have a third person in the room now, David Pecker, who's offered full cooperation with the Mueller probe. As for where the money came from for the payoffs, we know that it would be a campaign finance violation if it was campaign money. It hasn't been proven that it was.
All right, and to that point,
That's the key question.
Let me get this in
feels
really,
differently
really
about it
quickly,
by saying that he directed a crime.
This is just coming into Fox News per our John Roberts. The president's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, says he never said that the campaign finance issue was not a big crime. And he's following back, I guess, on Dershowitz and others saying that Giuliani described the campaign finance violation as not a big crime. Just want to get that in there, because if it turns out that that is a problem, it would be a big deal.
Well, yeah. And can I? Well, first of all, I think we.
And even Giuliani,
Well, he's
says that.
Well, after he walked it back, because he said he didn't kill anyone.
Hold on. I think everyone in the country can agree that Michael Cohen's a terrible attorney. Clearly, he's the one who's supposed to know if he's breaking the law or not, which is the whole point why you have an attorney and why President Trump was relying on him to follow the law. In regard to the legal aspect of this, it's up for dispute if President Trump broke the law or not. You also have people like former FEC Commissioner Bradley Smith, who said that he doesn't think that there's anything criminal here in what President Trump did. So I think that is up for dispute. The bigger issue for President Trump is the political one. But even on that, he has a safeguard in the Senate with the 53 Republican majority, because even if the House brings impeachment proceedings, the House or the Senate is not going to convict him. They would need 2/3, 60-vote supermajority with a 53 Republican advantage in the Senate. That's not going to happen. So the way I look at this, if you actually step back from a 30,000-foot level, the president doesn't look like he's that bad off here, to be honest.
So I want to go back to what Melissa said, though, because what you were talking about is the actual paying. And Michael Cohen says he would have paid on his own. That is not the case with AMI, who just cut this immunity deal.
Right.
So I want to
saying that in and of itself was a campaign finance violation. Well, I'm talking about with relation to Michael Cohen and another question that Stephanopoulos missed, which I don't know, maybe half these questions were on the edit room floor because he missed some of the biggest, most obvious ones. If you knew this was illegal, did you tell the president it was illegal? And nobody's asking him that question. He said he told him it was wrong. But did he tell him it was illegal if he thought it was? Because he says he knew it was illegal. Did you tell the president? You were his legal counsel. He never claims
the president said he trusted him to do his job.
He never claims he told the president it was illegal. He's his legal counsel. How's the president supposed to know?
The president told me yesterday, and everything we said was on tape, so we can roll it if we want to. But he said he trusted, he paid for services, and he trusted that he was getting them. But you ask a very important question. When your attorney says something's wrong, are we supposed to assume then that it's illegal or that he wouldn't advise you to do it?
I don't know.
Those might be
true if he goes and does it for you.
I mean, if you think about it, I have a tax lawyer and you ask them, is that legal? I mean, that's like what you have a lawyer for. Is this legal? Is it not?
Yeah, but that's where he goes and files those tax returns even regardless.
No, I know, but I'm just saying as an example.
Where the direction comes into import here, right? So who directed whom? I want our viewers to hear you say.
Well, it's just, I mean, if Cohen said this is wrong, yet did it anyway, does that then absolve? And the president said, well, if it was wrong, why would you go do it? I mean, at that point, you're the one supposed to give me legal advice that you do it anyway.
And they both say different things.
But Judge Napolitano is not the. There's a lot of people out there saying a bunch of different things, and I think the conversation we're having on the couch proves that it is ambiguous how much legal trouble President Trump is in right now. Also, campaign finance. Well, hold on. Campaign finance violations are also typically met with fines, not any sort of criminal action. Further, for campaign finance violations, for the prosecutor, there's a very high level of burden of proof for intent. And right now, it seems like that is very ambiguous for the president. So there seems to be a lot of gray area here, yet Democrats try to act like this is some sort of black and white situation, and it certainly doesn't appear to be.
It seems to be quite black and white for SDNY here, and they know better than we do. And yes, there are many people who think what you think, but Judge Napolitano is not on his own here, and he made it very clear yesterday talking to the Fox
but there's a lot of different
voices who said it's like if you direct someone to commit a murder, you are charged equally for having directed that as the person who executed it. And if President Trump was the one making the negotiations with David Pecker, and as Harris pointed out, that one was from campaign campaign funds, and he did that himself, then he certainly is in trouble. There's also more to that.
Well, that's campaign finance.
But campaign finance is a crime to have committed it. And yes, usually it is fines, but it wasn't, as in the case of President Obama, it wasn't President Obama saying, go out and do this thing so I can essentially defraud the American people so they don't know that I was doing these things. And then
I don't know how.
So
What the president says is that he did not direct Michael Cohen. I want to give you the last word.
You know, I think, look, I'm going to end where I started. I mean, the bottom line is Michael Cohen has no credibility here. There's very few people are going to take what he says and believe that this is for some reason that either the president should be brought up on legal charges, should be impeached or anything like that. I mean, he's Michael Cohen, who just has been convicted of lying. And that is, I think you have to consider the source here. And as I said, with your interview yesterday, the president did not seem concerned about this issue.
All right, we'll move on. A deadline today for the special counsel amid a bombshell claim from Michael Flynn's camp that the FBI pressured him into not bringing a lawyer to the interview with agents. What we can expect. Plus, the Democrats and the president appear dug in over border security, about a week out from a possible government shutdown, a partial one. The push for a compromise with time running out.
We know there's criminals in this flow. The need for the wall has never been clearer. Wall's work, and yet Democrats are saying they will not fund the wall.
This program is brought to you by Ensure, for the strength and energy to always be you.
Okay, everyone, our mission is to provide complete balanced nutrition for strength and energy.
Great tasting Ensure with 9 grams of protein.
Whatever it takes to get border security, I will do it. I pledged that a long time ago, and I will pledge it always. We've done a really fantastic job with what we have. We can do an almost perfect job if we have the wall.
The video also includes old clips of Schumer, Hillary Clinton, and former President Obama talking up barriers and the need to curb illegal immigration, and President Trump saying Democrats won't back a wall now, quote, because of me and Schumer not budging.
I want to be crystal clear. There will be no additional appropriations to pay for the border wall. It's done. The president repeatedly promised that Mexico would pay for his unnecessary and ineffective border wall. In his words, 100%.
Meantime, Politico reporting the president might back a bipartisan package of spending bills to avert a shutdown. The package, a so-called minibus, funds border security, but not the wall. Jessica, let me ask you from the Democrats' point of view. So just looking at the facts, Homeland Security says $5 billion would build 215 miles of fence. In 2006, the majority of Senate Democrats voted for 700 miles, so many more than that 215 of double fence. Democrats could get anything right now in exchange for this money for 215 miles of fence. Why not go to the president and say, I want, and name something outrageous?
Well, there's definitely digging in around the word wall. That's just become such a flashpoint for both sides here. The president saying, I want a wall.
Why don't we ban the word?
We'll
call it a fence.
Well, I honestly, if it had begun that way, then it would have been more of a conversation like the Gang of 8 and the Gang of 6 have been having, and many prominent Democrats, about beefing up border security. Nancy Pelosi in that meeting said, of course we're for border security, and Chuck Schumer said, I've offered you $1.6 billion. So there is a semantics issue here, but Pelosi is also very clear that she doesn't want to be in the business of trading dreamers, for instance. She wants these to be standalone.
Not what she's saying. She's saying that you have to come through me before you go through the Senate.
Well,
and the president is saying, I don't need to do that because I've got the votes. And so they go round and around.
Prove it.
Right. They go round and around about that.
Why not
This
trade?
is not about DACA.
I mean, that's what negotiating is. I mean, you have to give to get. Anybody who's studied negotiation or bought a house or bought a car knows you give to get. And that's how you get it done. Democrats, let me ask you real quick. I mean, what would you put out there as the offer? So he wants to make a deal. He loves to make a deal. Mm-hmm. He would give Democrats something. What's the deal that could get done?
You know, it's a good question. And I think that there is a lot that can be done around border security, but I think he's having a hard time getting beyond the fact that under 13 under Obama, all 54 Democrats voted to extend a border wall. And so now, because he is the president, he can't get it through. And I don't know that he is going to put a hard and fast line in the sand on building a wall. He has to be able to run for re-election in 2020 because it was such a big platform for his initial election. And so from that, I think we are probably moving to a shutdown here. And the fact is, over the past shutdowns, we've had Democrat presidents, Republicans have lost out. The Congress has lost out. And I think you're going to have the same facet here. This is the first time that the Democrats are beginning to overreach, and I think they're going to pay a price for it.
Go ahead.
Well, I say shut it down. I mean, it would likely be a partial government shutdown. Also, 2020 election is so far away. Literally a month from now, people would forget about this. So who cares? Shut it down. I think the wall is a noble cause. And to Jessica's point, I'd like to address a couple points that you made. One, Democrats aren't against striking some sort of deal. They try to do it with the Schumer shutdown regarding spending. So Nancy Pelosi is a little full of it on that. Yeah. Second, you basically proved the point that this is all politics, all semantics over the term wall. And essentially all Democrats are interested in is denying President Trump that campaign promise, which was his preeminent promise on the campaign trail. And that is what this solely is about. Because the idea that anyone would be against some sort of physical barrier was already disproven by Democrats voting on the 2006 Secure Fence Act. Even people like Dianne Feinstein, who previously said that Democrats were totally for border security. Where are they now?
Can I add to that point that they were looking at caravans at that time, and in 2012, they used tear gas in the vicinity of families and children as well. Border Patrol have told me that, and you can look at DHS statistics on the point and what happened. So this issue is not even fresh and new. This is an issue that it looked like Democrats wanted to solve.
The circumstances
what happened? What changed? Why don't they want to solve it now?
I don't think that's fair. I do think that they want to solve it. I don't think that they like or approve of Donald Trump's approach to curbing illegal immigration. This does go back to the rhetoric that was used on the campaign trail, where he came down the golden escalator and started talking about criminals and rapists and the lies that he has made up about who's coming into this country and who is here, how he has managed ICE, where that now they're going after people on suspicion of crimes, where there are people who are being separated from their families, kids in cages, and all of that. So it is very emotional and it is important, but that doesn't mean that Democrats don't care about border security.
To be fair, President Obama also had a policy of family separation for a brief period of time.
And the case pictures are from the Obama administration.
Which is why the whole reason why the Flores settlement came into play with Obama as well.
Hang on, why are relitigating that? Let me ask you, because you were there yesterday. What did you get the sense that he would give away something big in exchange for the wall? Isn't it a golden opportunity for Dems?
Unfortunately, we didn't get to that topic because we were all over the Michael Cohen. And I said at the end, Mr. President, I want to come back. He said yes. Melissa, I hope I get to go back. But I will say, just based on what we know to this point, and you made a point too, Chris, that the pictures of the children in cages were from 2014, and this president was not in office yet.
It was not an administration policy. It was very different.
But you said kids in cages, and so I just wanted
I'm saying why it's hyper emotional because of how many thousands of kids separated from their.
Well, the emotions created by the media showing the pictures today
in Customs and Border Patrol possession yesterday, or last week, but reported yesterday.
Former FBI Director James Comey due back on Capitol Hill Monday to face questioning after revealing that normal procedure was not followed. He chuckled as he talked about that when he ordered agents to question former Trump National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. This as special counsel Mueller's team faces a key deadline today in the Flynn case. Details ahead. Plus, new signs that Senators Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are moving closer to a 2020 presidential run. But one Senate Democrat suggesting they may not play well with voters in the heartland. We'll debate that.
Never before has it been more important to protect your assets, IRAs, and 401ks from the financial crisis that we're facing. Hi, I'm William Devane, and like you, I've worked hard for my money, and I'm not about to lose it now. With all the financial craziness in the world, I protect my retirement by buying gold every chance I get. I buy my gold from Rosalind Capital because I trust them. No sales gimmicks there. Rosalind will beat any—
And a nice man. And I don't even know what he said about me because, maybe they scared him enough they don't make up a story.
I think it's a great thing that the judge is looking into that situation. It's an honor for a lot of terrific people.
Meanwhile, former FBI Director James Comey is expected back on Capitol Hill on Monday and will likely face questions about the Flynn case after revealing recently that normal procedure was not followed when he ordered FBI agents to question Flynn.
Something I probably wouldn't have done or maybe gotten away with in a more organized investigation, a more organized administration, in the George W. Bush administration, for example, or the Obama administration. So if the FBI wanted to send agents into the White House itself to interview a senior official, you would work through the White House counsel, and there'd be discussions and approvals and who would be there. And I thought it's early enough, let's just send a couple guys over.
Gotten away with. Sounds surreptitious. What's your response?
It's unbelievable, really. And the fact that he sits there sort of flippantly laughing about it as if this is something that we can all joke about now. You know what's disturbing to me about this? And I'm not some sort of conspiratorial person who's worried the deep state's trying to take over the world, but it does appear to me, and this is someone, you guys pointed out earlier, who ran a campaign or was involved in running a campaign that went up against Donald Trump 42 times in primaries. But it was as if the Department of Justice and the FBI and figures with power inside of there have been out to get him and doing things like this that I would be disturbed about no matter who it was. If this was done to members of the Obama administration, this would disturb me and I would find this completely inappropriate. And he laughs about it as if it's no big deal. And I just find that incredibly, it's not right on any level.
Jessica?
So we've discussed this before. I'm not a tremendous fan of Jim Comey. I wish he wasn't becoming as partisan as he is now. I don't think it's helpful, and we both know both sides, whoever won, would have fired him immediately when they took office. But what he is saying, when he clarified, he said this administration wouldn't have gone away with it. He was actually talking about how disorganized the administration is, that they didn't put counsel in there with Mike Flynn. Not that Andy McCabe was misbehaving. And when Mueller releases his findings at 3 o'clock, we will see what he thinks of it. But it seems to me that what's happening now is that Republicans are trying to make Mike Flynn the story, and for us to feel that he's the victim in all of this, to move away from what's going on with Michael Cohen and with the Mueller probe more generally.
I think
and
they're
Michael Flynn,
separate, though.
No one made him lie. He decided to do that to the FBI and to Mike Pence.
Okay, I actually disagree with that, because if you look at what is supposed to be turned over today, which is the 302, which, by the way, I don't know how, we're reading reports about what's in this 302 when it's supposed to be turned over today. How is it being leaked? What's in there is one question. But, he writes that clearly Flynn thought that the FBI agents were allies, and that they went over and they had discussed how they were going to try and trap him in a lie, and that there was no one in the room. This is all coming from McCabe, though, is the one that's writing this, and he's the one who was later found by the IG to have lied to FBI agents and to have lied to Comey and to have lied to Congress.
Perjury.
I mean, it was the own IG who found that. So I'm wondering why, if McCabe was proven by the IG to have lied to all these people, why isn't he the one that's behind bars? And he even wrote in this 302 that when they left, they didn't believe that Flynn had lied.
That was filed 9 months later. The 302 was filed 9 months after the fact. It's supposed to be done minutes after the fact.
But they didn't believe he was lying, though, as to your point, where you say he lied. They didn't think he was lying.
Well, hold on just one second. There are two big points that everyone should be concerned with, Republicans or Democrats. The first is the FBI should have never interviewed Flynn to begin with, because the idea that he violated the Logan Act is a joke. It's a 218-year-old law. No one's ever been prosecuted. That by itself should disturb people, that he was ever interviewed to begin with. He had the authority to talk to Kislyak. The second thing that everyone should be concerned about is apparently in a national security probe, you don't have to let the person know that there's potential criminal violations for lying. That's the bigger problem of all of this, is that the investigation into the Trump people, as well as Russia, was a counterintelligence probe, and also the special counsel probe is a counterintelligence probe. The problem with that is that it protects them, one, because it's classified, so they don't have to disclose certain information outside of a FISA court. They have to disclose certain information to the courts. And it also gives them broader authority to essentially go on a fishing exploration, because they don't have to, like a criminal investigation, establish a crime from the beginning.
And I want to give Chris last word. Go ahead.
Well, it's tough for me to disagree with any of that. I do think it is. There's a lot going on here to be concerned about, but I think just the cavalier way in which it's been handled, and the fact that it's just like, it's almost like they're trying to destroy people's lives for sport, and that's what I take away from it. From, again, the filing of these papers at work that's supposed to be done minutes afterwards.
Do you think Flynn gets prison time?
No, I don't.
Okay, we'll move on. Challenge accepted. During my interview yesterday, President Trump dared a couple of GOP critics to challenge him in 2020, and now a sassy response from outgoing Ohio Governor John Kasich, the warning from his advisor, and what it could mean for the GOP heading into the 2020 a year. We'll debate it next.
If you are considering silver for your savings and retirement accounts, here is an amazing offer from Lear Capital. Now you can receive $200, $500, up to $2,000 worth of these all-new silver Snowy Owl coins free with a qualifying purchase. The Snowy Owl is made from the finest silver of any coin in the world. Its popular 1.5 ounce size makes it both valuable and affordable. And because it comes with a government guarantee, it's IRA eligible with the price.
McCaskill says she's not sure anyone from her party's progressive wing could win her state in 2020. In an interview with MSNBC, McCaskill, who lost her seat this fall, was asked whether Warren, Sanders, or Senator Kamala Harris stood a chance in Missouri. Watch.
I do think that what, as a party, we need to do is make sure that we are nominating someone who is inspirational and who can convince the American people that they can make things change. And it's very hard to make things change if you're hanging out at the ends of the spectrum, if you're on opposite sides of the room.
Chris, what do you think? Who stands the best chance?
I think this meeting may have been set up by Elizabeth Warren's staff that's trying to look to get her out of the race because they know she has no chance. I mean, she tried to launch the campaign on the two things she knows least about, foreign policy and her own heritage. And it is, right now you've got people around her apologizing for the way in which she's acted. She hasn't even announced her campaign and it's already fallen apart. And you've got a poll out of Massachusetts that shows only 11% of Democrats even think she should run. So I think this is a non-starter, but I can't point to any of the, I don't know how many there are, Jessica, 40 to 50 people on the Democratic side now.
55, please.
Okay, well, Michael Avenatti did announce last week, I think, that he's not running, so you lost one, unfortunately. But I was looking forward to those Trump-Avenatti debates. Those would have been off the charts.
They'll probably still happen on cable news.
I really hope so. I really hope so. But it's just who cares at this point? And it is, I don't know who the Democrats can put forward that could win Missouri. They're not going to win Missouri. The question is whether or not they can go back and win states like Pennsylvania and Michigan. Those are the ones that they have to be worried about.
You're nodding. Who do you think is the best?
Joe Biden is the best. I mean, he is 20 points ahead on all.
Meeting.
No, he wasn't. Well, that was the progressive meeting. And what was very clear out of the meeting was that they wanted everybody to know that no one is bullying anyone out of running. Because after what happened in 2016, when the narrative was that the DNC worked for Hillary, you know, to somehow get her those extra 4 million votes, that Bernie was bullied out of a nomination, and then they can go with he would have won. So you need to be very careful. Yeah,
come on.
And
there
even
was a lot going on.
There was a lot going on, but we don't want that narrative again. And you even see the work that David Sirota, works for Bernie Sanders, is doing already. So everyone should take their time and decide what they want to do, and we'll see who actually goes for it in the end. We know Joaquin Castro's
Between those two, who would you support?
Oh, I would vote for whoever's on the ticket, but that's not my side of the party. So it's.
Wow, that was a dodge, like dodgeball.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, I mean I think that's what any moderate Democrat would say. Whoever is our nominee, I will support.
So who is the moderate Democrat that can win?
That can win? It's tough. I mean, we talked about this before. I think Sherrod Brown should be involved. For sure, Amy Klobuchar is great, but I think you could have a Kamala Harris, Sherrod Brown ticket.
I have one on my show today, Evan Bayh, moderate Democrat.
Who couldn't get reelected in his own state.
My old boss worked for.
Could not win his own state.
As I said,
that's the problem. You cannot nominate a moderate Democrat. They will nominate whoever is as far to the left as possible.
I don't think that's true because Hillary wasn't the first.
I also think that we have to think about the dynamics, too, of what the primary field is going to look like for Democrats. And it's probably going to be very similar to what Republicans had in 2016, where you have a really crowded primary field. And we have a really crowded primary field. You could potentially have someone that's not even in this conversation, not even thought of right now, that's able to break through. And quite honestly, it's probably the more established people, even if it's the more established progressives, that are going to end up, not making it through in that sort of dynamic. It's probably going to be something that's new and fresh, someone that we're not particularly looking at, someone like Donald Trump. And
4 years ago, wasn't even running.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, wasn't even being talked about.
Also think about how terrible Elizabeth Warren is. To think that you want to roll out this campaign ad and this whole elaborate rollout to essentially tell America that you are less Native American than the average U.S. white person.
Yeah, it was.
She's never going to be president.
It was unbelievable.
That's bad.
Okay, moving on, because we're talking about your side now. President Trump, during Harris's interview yesterday, essentially daring other Republicans to run against him in 2020. This amid reports that Ohio Governor John Kasich and Arizona Senator Jeff Flake may be considering that. Take a listen.
So I'm going to bring up John Kasich, and I'm going to bring up Arizona Senator Jeff Flake, because they say they may run against you in 2020.
I hope so.
Thank you.
And a direct response from Kasich strategist John Weaver saying, quote, "Be careful what you wish for." Kasich has recently admitted he probably wouldn't beat Trump if the election were held today, but says he's not taking a run off the table. Watch.
All my options are on the table, and we have to see how things develop. I don't want to be doing something that doesn't make sense, where it wouldn't be impactful. But I don't know how all that's going to be decided yet. We're just kind of being prepared.
We can all agree that chair is not a fabulous look for the governor. What do you make of this? Do you think Trump feeds off of a primary and it's good for him, or you think it would actually cause him a headache or two?
I think it depends. I mean, John Kasich's irrelevant. And if we're going to quote somebody, why don't we find someone who's actually won a primary for president or helped elect a president for the first one? I mean, John Kasich was tailor-made to win in New Hampshire, and he only got, 15% there? He got less than 5% of where he competed in South Carolina and Nevada. In Arizona, he finished behind Marco Rubio, who had already dropped out. John Kasich is irrelevant to the 2020 conversation. Now, there are some that could get in and be relevant, but he's not one of them. Well, it depends. I mean, right now, probably nobody, because Donald Trump is going to be the nominee. But I think depending on what happens moving forward, whether or not, you've had people who've decided at this point in the presidency, I've accomplished what I want to accomplish. So right now, I think it's a silly conversation to have. And for anybody to be making comments like, be careful what you wish for, is just, it's in search of a camera and somebody to cover
What do you think, Melissa? You think he feeds off the challenge?
I think he loves it. I mean, Harris could tell us better because she was right there yesterday. I think he loves it. He would love somebody getting in the ring.
Fight.
He would love a fight.
Yeah.
I think that it is an opportunity for him to go down his checklist of things that he's accomplished. I also think, and I asked him, and I know I took a lot of criticism for this, but this was a baseline interview for me. It was my first time.
I thought you did a great job.
Yeah, you did.
Thank you. I've interviewed Bill Clinton in the past when he came through Missouri as a swing state. I mean, I've sat down with others and asked very similar questions about why they want or love the job that they were about to do or have the opportunity to do, because their toughest days look nothing like our toughest days. And so I'm always curious about that, because you've got to really be able to hang in the room. Where I saw him get the most excited yesterday was the idea of running again.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. I mean, I had a lot of other things I wanted to ask him about. Maybe there would have been some excitement about immigration and the wall equal to this. But I sort of got a bring it on sort of attitude from him. We will see, though. There's a lot to happen between now and then.
What do you think, Lisa?
Well, yeah, I mean, look how much he was on the campaign trail, right? Like, he loves getting out there. He loves talking to people. He thrives on it.
He's good at it.
I don't know if a sitting president has ever done more for their party in terms of just the sheer amount of events and rallies that they've attended.
We talked about that energy.
So he clearly loves it. Regarding John Kasich, I think he's just a fraud, and that's his biggest problem. Well, because he tries to say he's this happy warrior, and then sometimes you see him with reporters, and he's just so ornery
he's angry
and nasty, and it's completely contradictory to this perception that he's trying to have. And I think in the day of
he's neither happy nor a warrior.
Right, like it's just disproven by his behavior.
So these are not comments that you're making based on what you've seen.
I dealt with him in the
He worked at
2016
Fox for a
campaign.
while.
It was, yeah.
Well, he has been willing, in terms of things that he has followed through on. He has said, I'll work with the other side, and he has done that in Ohio and expanded Medicaid. And really
so in other words, he's voted with Democrats and had their agenda.
That's fine, but that counts for because he's delivering.
Well, he vetoed a life pro-life
Bob
bill.
Corker, some people talk about.
I just think he's an unhappy warrior is the only thing.
Is there a warrior part of it there, though?
Or he's just unhappy.
Yeah.
Well, the president says that he loves what he does because he gets to box check. He gets to say, I did this, I tried this, I get that. Yeah. So
that's why I mow the yard.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. The Senate is currently delivering 2 rebukes to Saudi Arabia, and they also rebukes of the Trump administration and how they could affect relations with a key Middle Eastern ally. We'll debate it coming up next.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need cash? You should know about the New Day VA Home Loan for Veterans. It lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, not just 80% like other loans. And that can mean a lot more money for you and your family. With our military service, veterans like us have earned a valuable VA benefit, the right to apply for a VA home loan.